we could turn back time to the good old days when the mama sang us to sleep, but now it's just us.
Story time with Paige. So, yes, this is a story time with Paige, and this story was requested by the good, the wonderful, the amazing, the talented Carissa. Her YouTube channel will be linked in the description box below whenever I want to put it in. Anyhow. So, this is a story about my crush and how we met and what happened and what's it like now. So, to start off, we go back to little Paige world. We go back to the 6th grade. Alright, this is the first year of middle school, and she's like freaking out. She's like, oh my god, I'm a good girl! Nope, she was a rebel. She thought she was so savage. Literally, she would mouth off to the teacher. One time, she called the teacher bug-eyed. Yeah, she went that far calling him bug-eyed, and he went,
No.
yeah, she was a little savage one. Anyhow, so, Paige was in choir. Is in choir still, I hope. And she was like,
okay, first year in choir, I'm going to do so good, I'm going to sing, I'm going to be
like that. Alright, so she was meeting all her friends. She was like,
oh, I know some of you.
and then there was this one guy. His name was Chad. What we're calling for today. Chad was a little kawaii potato. What's that look like? I don't know. See for yourself. Anyhow. So he was a little tiny kawaii potato. And he had the voice of
A dying bird.
That's so mean to say. But honey, like if you couldn't sing, why did you go in choir? Like a lot of people have that issue. Like they'll be in choir and they can't even sing. And I'm like, okay, what are you doing? But I mean, he was okay for the most part. But I think he tried too hard. I love you, Chad. I'm sorry. And so yeah, little old Paige Pooh. She was sitting there and she was like,
He's kind of cute.
and she was like, all for him, you know? And she was like, hey, is Chad single? Like, she asked Deborah, and she's like, well, no, my friend. I think they're dating. I don't know. And I was like,
Oh, well, okay, I have no chance.
so little Paige was all like,
Bye, Buggy Boo.
so that was the end of the 6th grade Paige crush of Chad. 7th grade, 2nd year of middle school. This is the open house. And she comes in and she goes into school because we had to pick up our schedules at the school, which is so stupid. Like, fix that, please. Anyways, so she goes in, she picks up her schedule, whatever. Sees she's in choir again. Let me remind you that Chatty Poo is not in choir that year. Actually, he was in. Oh my god, he was in choir for like one day, and he was like,
No, I'm not having this again.
like, no joke. Anyways, so there was this list on the door of the office, and it had a list, like lists of names for the people who were in those certain classes. And I was looking on there, and I saw Chadette Chad. And then last name. I don't want to make up one because I'm too lazy. And I was sitting there, like, she was sitting there like, who was Chadette? Chad. Like, that sounds so familiar, but not familiar. And then she looks at the last name, and she's like, oh my god, it's Chad! I didn't know Chad's first name was Chadette. And then she all calls up Deborah, and she's like, hey, Deborah, is this really Chad's name? And she was all like, yeah, I thought you already knew. And I was like, oh, no. So I was all like, oh, my little heart was pounding. I was like,
Oh my god, get to go into school with a hot guy again.
she was so excited. So the first week, or something, like first couple months, like she didn't even talk to him again. Like she didn't even talk to him sixth year. She didn't talk to him in 6th grade. She didn't talk to him in the classes that he was in with her in 7th grade. Then in the mid of 7th grade, the teachers decide to change our schedules. So we were in different homerooms, and unfortunately, little Paige had to be separated from Chatty Poo. And boom, breakup happened.
In the arms of the angel.
Her heart was okay because she didn't even care. But towards the end of that year, Chatty Poo, wow, thank you, Chatty Poo, got suspended, and Chatty Poo ended up being in Paige's homeroom. And from the suspension, for whatever he did, he had to be removed from his homeroom and put into mine. And I was sitting there like, okay, this is weird. Am I dreaming? Because he was like even more cute than I expected him to be. Because I haven't seen him in like years. Yeah, years. That's exaggerated. Use your mind. And like, he was sitting there, and I was like at one point, like it was like a week that passed by, he was in my class, and I was like, so is this like permanent, like for the rest of the year? He was like, yeah, I guess. And I was like, oh, cool. I was like so happy because you know what? Paige fell for him again. Again, children, again. So, no one else knew about it until like people started assuming, and I agreed to it. And one point, he FaceTimed me, and he was on the phone. He was like talking to me, and he left. He was like, I gotta go to the bathroom. But he was like in the bathroom for like an hour, and I'm like, what are you doing? Are you dying? And like he comes back, and he's like, okay, so I've done some thinking, and he started talking about something. I don't even remember. But then he goes, will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, excuse me? And he goes, will you be my girlfriend? And I was like, you must be joking. Because that same day, he asked me to be his girlfriend at least 5 different times in 5 different ways. And it was hurting me. And he's like, I'm serious. Like, and I was like, well, if you are, then yeah. And he was like, okay, then we're dating. And I was like, oh, okay then. And it was like really awkward after that on the phone call. And he said he had to go and everything. So I was like, okay. And then the conversations make me cry. I don't want to talk about it. God, I'm so sensitive. Anyways, so like we get into school, and he's like wanting to tell everyone, and then I was like, oh, are we not keeping it secretive? Because I was planning on to do that because I thought people would get mad or something. And yeah, okay, that happened. And then one old day, it was at least, we dated for like 3 days. 3 days. Oh my god, no, we dated for at least 6 or 3 days. And we got together either May 3rd or May 6th. I think it was May 6th because he broke up with me on May 9th. And, alright, so the way he did it, he went, poof. And I was like,
You just say poof?
And the thing was, before he asked me out officially, he went, you want to hear a magic trick? I was like, yo, sure. He went, will you go out with me? And I was like, no. And then he went, oh, I was going to say, poof, you're single. And yeah, that's where that comes. So fast forward. So he goes, poof. And I'm like, you're joking, right? Because he said poof a lot of times, and he would just be like, just kidding. And I would be like, yeah, don't mess with me or I'll punch you in your throat. We were walking out in we were gonna go on our buses, and he just went poof, and I was like, you must be joking. He's like, I'm serious. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, I'm like sitting there doubting. I was like, wow, okay, my heart is dying. Okay, my heart is dying. So he texts me, and I texted him, and I was like, well, you forgot the rest of it, like rest of the poop. And he was like, what is it? And I was like, where you go, like, poof your single? And then he did poof your single, and I was like, oh, thanks. And he was like, yeah. I was like, I'm gonna delete your contact now. I was so mad. Like, I cried when I got home because of how big of a wuss I am. Like, I am so sensitive. And I think Chad knew. Never mind. Chad is a very hateful person. But, moral of the story is, Chad hates me. Still to this day. I still like him. For what reason? I have no idea. He just made me happy. Like, I feel like he was the only one that made me happy. Because I've dated a couple guys, and they all were like, they didn't even talk to me. And with him, he would just be really mean to me, but like in a flirting kind of way. Like, he bit my hand. That's how far he went. It was a really good time for me, and he just really made me happy, and he still does, but, you know, he hates me. He doesn't want to talk to me. But if you're watching this video, Chad, I'm sorry for whatever I did to you to make you hate me, and I really wanted a second chance, but obviously I can't get one because I feel like you faked it all just to make me happy. And I'm gonna go with that theory, because if you're making me happy, in the end, I still love you.